Okay, so the third stage of the extended essay process is kind of like the research stage. So whereas the first stage, you're brainstorming, going through different possible topics that you could investigate and subjects that you could look at those topics through. And the second stage is what are the specific demands of different subjects and settling on kind of a subject that you think is appropriate and then understanding its demands. The third stage is where you actually start to really collect information. And it can definitely be intimidating. So hopefully the advice that I give here about Google Scholar and EBSCOHost and also Destiny will be quite helpful. So I'm not going to try to explain every research tool. I'm really just going to focus on those three. And again, kind of the instructions begin on the IB program at AST homepage. And again, on the left-hand side, you can see the extended essay link. You can click that, and that will open up a bunch of different links that are helpful. There is this link here, this helpful login resources for EBSCO and Destiny. This is very helpful at building upon kind of the recorded explanations that I'm giving now in a more written form. So this is something that's very useful. But what I'm really going to focus on here is not so much this, but a different link, which I've shown before in the brainstorm stage. This one here, where can I look for information? So if you click on there, and it says here that you can focus on, mostly the school library, Destiny, and EBSCO. And I'm going to start with EBSCO. So if you click on that, it'll take you to the login page, and you can type in the login information. And you'll want to click on this one here, the teacher profile, all databases. And you'll want to select all of the databases so you get the best results possible. And then you'll want to type in basically your topic. And continuing from the previous video, we'll imagine that I'm continuing investigation of the Mexican Revolution, maybe in the early period, and we'll say that by this time I've narrowed it down to Emiliano Zapata. Maybe I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to look at with him, but I'm going to look at something about him. So I'll type his name here, in the search box, hit search, and it's going to come up with a lot of stuff. The first thing you're going to want to do when you're searching for information is you're going to want to click the full text button. Limit to full text. And as soon as you've done that, it's going to take out all of the search results that are not full text, because those, quite frankly, are not very helpful. It's also important to understand that there are many other results that are not very helpful. Like this one here where it says reference and it says encyclopedia. If you click on it, it's going to come up with some information, but it's very brief, it's very encyclopedic in nature. This is more of something that, a middle school student might look at. This, quite frankly, is not enough. So, another thing you'll want to avoid is also these things called reviews. Reviews are not really what you're looking for. Reviews are reviews of books, meaning that they're not the actual book itself. So if you see reference or review, it might not be that helpful. In fact, sometimes even things are labeled as books, but there's just a link to an encyclopedia. So this isn't really going to be very helpful either. So because of that, we can kind of skip some of these first few. But then we get to this one, where it says, Remembering Emiliano Zapata, 3 Moments in the Posthumous Career of the Martyr of Chinameca. And this one looks like it's an academic journal. This one's something we can use. If we click on it, it opens up and tells us, the author, the source, some of the basic information about it. And if we click on PDF full text, it will actually open up the PDF document. And we can see that this is going to become something that's very useful for us. But it's important to understand that in addition to the document itself, there are many other important features that EBSCO provides for us. There's these handy keys on the right-hand side, which are incredibly helpful. For example, this one here that looks like a link, or kind of like a paperclip almost. If you click on that, it will give you the permanent link that is always going to bring you to this document. This is important because the link on the top, this one will not. But this one here, the permalink, it will. In addition to that, there's another incredibly useful button called Cite. If you click on the Cite button, it will show you how to cite this book in a whole bunch of different formats. So this is incredibly useful because this is going to tell you how to place the citation on the Works Cited page. In addition to that, there's another button that might even help you. This button that says Add to Folder. If you add that to the folder, what that does is it puts this item in your folder that's accessible up here in the upper right hand corner. If you click your folder at any time, it's going to take you to the items that you've placed inside of your folder. So this is pretty cool. In addition to this, there are some other features that you can find. So that's kind of what EBSCO can do. It may also be helpful to know that you can download the document itself if you click the download PDF link which appears at the top once you open the document. So that's kind of how EBSCO works. It can be frustrating because you're going to see a lot of encyclopedic information that might not be helpful. You're also going to see a lot of reviews which will not be helpful. What you're mostly looking for are either periodicals, newspaper articles, or books, or academic journals. Those are the ones that are really going to help you. So that's EBSCO. But in addition to EBSCO, there's also another tool here called Google Scholar, which can also be very helpful. So if you click on that, it'll take you to the Google Scholar website, and the first thing you'll want to do immediately is click off Include Patents. That's not something that you need. So if we still say that I'm researching Emiliano Zapata, I'll type his name in here, hit search, and you'll also want to remove over here on the left hand side where it says Include Citations, you'll want to remove those also. And what it will do then is it will display a list of different search results that you can focus on, but much like with EBSCOHost, many of the search results are not incredibly useful. For example, if you look at the first one here, if you click on it and open it up, what it's going to show you is it's actually part of a university's library, and that this is something that, basically unless you have the login information, you're not going to be able to really look at it. So this one, not really going to work for you. Beyond this one, you can kind of see the next one has nothing really to do with Emiliano Zapata, so that's kind of seems like an obvious skip. And then we get to the third one, Popular Movements and Political Change in Mexico. If we click on that, it shows us here on the top, it takes us to a Google Books page is where it's taking us, and it shows us that there's only 6 results of Emiliano Zapata in this book. And we can kind of toggle through those different places in the book where his name appears. And you can kind of see that, even though this did come up as a search result, we can see the book over here. We can see that Emiliano Zapata appears in the book. It's not significant enough. This isn't going to be really something we can use. So then we get to this one here called Plan de Ayala. It looks like it's a book. Looks like it's written by Emiliano Zapata. If we open this one here, it looks like it's an actual copy of the Plan de Ayala. And now this is something that could really help. It's a primary source. It's Zapata's own writing. So if we go back and we think what tools does Google Scholar have for me with this? It also has a Cite button, which is incredibly useful. If you click on the Cite button, it shows a few different ways to cite it. In addition to the Cite button, it has a Save button. If you click on the Save button, it basically adds this to the library where you can access it later. So you can kind of begin to identify different sources that you want to use, save them, and then click on the library, and you've got a really cool list of them. Anyway, just continuing to cruise down the list, we see this one, Emiliano Zapata, Revolution and Betrayal in Mexico. Now, if we click on this one, we start to see that there's 77 results. Now, this is huge. This is starting to look like something that's really going to be very helpful. We can see that Zapata's name is all over this book. So this is definitely a book that we want to remember. So, again, we can cite the book by hitting the Cite button, and we can save the book by clicking the Save button. But in addition to Google Scholar and to EBSCO, it's really important to use Destiny and the school library. Those are the easiest places to find examples of hardcover books and traditional sources. And here's why. So if you click on Destiny, and you go to our school library, and there's the find box here, and you can search by keyword or title or author or subject or series. We'll put in, again, Emiliano Zapata's name. We'll search by keyword. If you look here, there are a variety of books and VHS tapes. You know, it's kind of old, but there's also DVDs and other things that are available and very helpful about Emiliano Zapata. You want to be careful because some are at like a relatively low reading level, like this one's 5.7. You know, it has a very low interest level. This is an elementary book, basically. You would not want to use that for an extended essay. But if we start toggling through this list, one of the things that we actually see here is this book, Emiliano Zapata, Revolution and Betrayal in Mexico, which, if we remember what we were looking at just a little bit ago on Google Scholar, this was the book that we found on Google Scholar, and it is in the school library. And in fact, if we look at that author's name, Samuel Brunk, he is actually the same man who also published this other thing that we found on EBSCOHost. So in this way, the school library can be a very useful tool, especially for books that are not digitized, such as this one here. So these three tools are kind of the major ones. There are other ones that are here on the Where Can I Look for Information and research page. And these are definitely helpful, but they're not quite as academically powerful as Google Scholar or Destiny or EBSCO. So hopefully this makes some sense in how to gather and sift through sources using complicated tools, such as, again, EBSCO, Destiny, and Google Scholar.